Is he working?
Okay. 2. What do you guys think? Is this better? I hope it's better.
If it's not better, well, get what you get.
Much better. Okay, good. Yes. Thank you guys for hanging out with us when we have technical difficulties. We're doing this video right now on a folding table in the living room or in the dining room area. Our email is rootsandrefuge@yahoo.com. So yeah, definitely send us a picture. We need to order an external mic. We say this every time and then we forget because, during the week we're doing other things instead of live videos. So, and then whenever we think about it, we're doing a live video, so we don't order it. Hey, Tammy Gear, how are you? I'm so glad that it's better. Thank you, Kelly. It does look amazing, doesn't it? Actually, Maya is hanging shelves. That's what we were just doing. And we are going to be trying to, I think, hang up the rest of the shelves tonight. We're probably going to be staying up a little late tonight working out here. We don't have our kids here. So.
No children's.
Well, we have 2 of our big kids. We have our teenagers. But the little kids went down to my cousin Amy's. Hello, Dylan and Becca. Hello, Joy. Have you ever grown black sweet cherries? Yes, I have grown, black cherry tomatoes. I've grown those. I have those growing in the garden right now. Are you talking about cherry tomatoes or are you talking about actually cherries? I've never grown cherries at all. I don't have any. I have one pear tree next door, but we have not. Yeah, the no kids party. We're going to be hanging shelves.
We're going to be doing stuff, and then Jessica's going to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And then I'll keep doing stuff.
Muskie on ground cherries. I had my first one today.
Well, then you give it to Ben.
There was another one. I swiped it. There's another one that'll be yellow in the morning. Don't look at me like that, Twitchy. I was out of the kids' garden.
I don't feel in love.
Stayed up till 1 to watch from the UK. Bees, Beats, and Beauty.
You're committed.
So glad. But yeah, I guess I don't know. They're kind of like
yes. We installed
really
the floors.
tropical.
See the floors?
Yep.
Floor.
So we're still waiting on the curtain underneath there. I asked her to just go ahead and make curtains from both fabrics, and then we're gonna hang that cabinet right here, right behind the open one. I still have to clear coat that. That's what I'm going to do as soon as I get off of this video. I'm going to go put that layer down because it only takes an hour to drive. Yeah, Cape gooseberries is what ground cherries are called in Australia. I have been told that by other people as well, Jesse. Hey, North Star Prep Stutter. Thank you, Michaela Partridge. It's definitely, I really like the floor. I thought that I was just going to be really sad and miss my multicolored laminate floor, but my multicolored laminate floor was in really rough shape and needed to be replaced. And this is plank vinyl, but after getting it in and realizing how easy it was going to be to clean, I was really happy we went with this. The cabinet color it's by Behr, and it is evergreen.
We only use Behr paint. Literally, Jessica found a Valspar paint color that she liked, and I went to Lowe's. I said, I need this printout of this color so I can get the color scheme. And they're like, okay, do you need us to mix it? And I was like, no, thank you. And I took it to Behr at Home Depot and said, guys, I need you to mix this because I'll never buy Valspar paint. And they said, we understand. Because Behr paint, as far as a box store paint, is the best. Yeah. Now, there's probably there's Sherwin-Williams and all the other big stores. They make really good paint. But as far as going into a big store, don't get anything besides Behr.
Yeah, it's the paint that we've all got has been really good, and it goes on really nice. How do I get rid of termites in my raised bed? Well, Rochelle, I don't really know the answer to that.
Well, I saw a movie once where the ants fought the termites. The ants lost, but at least there was a big epic battle.
So glad you came here for helpful information. Does anybody else know how to get rid of termites?
Have you ever tried it? Take a scoop from an ant pile and throw it on top of the termite hill and watch it go to town.
Miranda, an end of the year blooper reel. We could do something like that. I don't know. A lot of times I'll throw the bloopers on the end of the videos. There aren't quite as many as you would think.
Bloopers?
Yeah.
No, we burn those.
No, we don't.
You sure do.
The color on the cabinets is Bare Evergreen. The color that I had mixed that was a Valspar color is called Dusty Rose, and that's what I put on my hutch.
Which is sitting directly behind the laptop.
And then the color that's on the, I've been asked a lot about this color, which
color?
I'm trying to get it to adjust so you can see it more, but it's
the cream?
It's like a cream, and that's
it's actually well, it's Martha Stewart.
That paint is probably not available anymore.
It is.
Oh, is it? It was a Martha Stewart line from like 10 or 12.
Or here's the thing cool about Home Depot, like any paint that they've ever carried color-wise, they saved the SKU for. So you can look up, like Martha Stewart paints are no longer a thing, but they have all the color SKUs.
Oh.
And so they can just literally plug it into their system and print it into a Bare paint, which we always had it in Bare anyways. We never bought the Martha Stewart paints, but that color scheme came from.
It's called Glass of Milk.
It's called Glass of Milk, and it's the greenhouse is painted in that.
Like we've been using this color
for
10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Like the first house that we moved into together when we first got married, we painted Glass of Milk, and that's when we found that color, and we've been using it since then. And
real talk, we did not realize how yellowy it was until we put it up to white. When we put it next to the white tile, we were like, oh.
Actually, I want to address this.
That's not really white.
Thank you so much, Ginger Sun Gardens. Thank you for that super chat. She said, I love the idea of the blooper reel. Okay, so here's the confession. We just did, like he said, we didn't know how yellow this Glass of Milk was because we've never put it up against like actual stark white. We put it in here with the tile in the sink, and I was like, crud, that's not going to work. But I like the Glass of Milk. So I Googled it, and I was reading like design magazines and stuff. And we had this black and white too. And they said, just make it look intentional. So I went to the store with a tile and found the white that was the closest to the tile. And I came in and I painted all of the trim stark white. So that was my save.
Which I actually like it. I think it looks really good.
I like it. I think it looks really good. It looks very farmhousey. Michelle Kagler, you need to check Messenger. I will definitely do that. Guys, I deactivated my Facebook. I've gotten a lot of messages from people being like, did I offend you? Absolutely not. Nobody offended me. You
have offended me, however.
I'm doing some writing projects in the garden in full swing, in the kitchen, and the kids. And I literally got to the point of a little bit of overwhelm. And I had to be like, what do I need to lay down for the time being? And I realized how much time social media was taking. So I actually deactivated Facebook because I was getting something in the realm of like 500 messages a day. And a lot of them were followed up with really angry messages that I hadn't responded to the first one. And so I got really overwhelmed and I just deactivated it. I'm trying to figure out a way that I can interact with our Facebook group through our page, but I haven't figured that out yet. And I actually put time limits on my phone for every other app like Instagram and all that stuff, and just keeping myself off social media so I can do the productive things. Wanda said that you're Superman, Maya.
That's a new one.
He has been doing a lot. He's been doing so much.
Yeah, guess what? I worked all day yesterday with a dislocated elbow. Didn't even know. I knew it hurt. I knew that.
Hey, Jill with Spring Willow Farm.
But I did my workout, and then we were working on shiplap in the ceiling, heading into the family room, and my elbow, this left arm elbow, was just throbbing pain, shooting pain all day, and I'm just pushing through it. And then I go to move the fridge, and I pushed on the fridge, and it went pop, and I felt this pop in my elbow, and it was like, oh. Like it really stopped hurting, and then like this morning, it's like almost back to normal. I was like, "Oh wow, I never had a dislocated joint before. That was definitely a first for me."
I was really like, "Oh my goodness." Okay, someone asked repeatedly about what do I do to keep the birds off the strawberries and the green stalk. I'm sorry, I saw the question, but I didn't see your name. I don't have that issue. The birds really don't mess with them here. However, I think Green Stalk sells a netting. Or you could just get some sort of netting. I know they sell like a fabric, like a frost fabric sleeve you can put over, but I think they sell a netting one, I think. Janice, I am so proud of you for eating raw okra. Very well done. That is really awesome. Michelle said curled tomato leaves. I think overwatering was the culprit, but some plants have not pulled out of it. Definitely watering and either under or over cause your tomato leaves to curl. That is typically a sign of stress. Another thing is that some varieties just don't deal with a lot of sun or a lot of heat as well as other ones do. So sometimes you'll see that cause that, but that could also be playing into their water needs because if there's a lot of evaporation or a lot of heat. So that could be it. However, if they're just kind of curled and the plant is still living, a lot of times it's not a huge issue. Like it sometimes it'll right itself, sometimes it won't. I have a few that are heavily curled right now, and I usually just don't worry just a whole lot about it.
I'm curious. Someone says, "What's the Berkey for?" If you know it's a Berkey,
it's a water filter.
How did you know it was a Berkey and not know what it's for? Did they make other products? I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm serious. I'm like, you're like, "What's the Berkey for?" And I'm like, there's really only one thing that they do. I'm not trying to be like mean. I was just curious. Like, how did you know it was a Berkey and not know that it's a water filter? It's a genuinely curious question for me.
Oh, you better look through that chat.
I am. I'm watching. And how the heck is Amy on here? How are you not like buried out in the backyard?
Amy has our kids right now, so they entertain each other.
Yeah, mostly.
I am grateful I came across your videos. Being 24 and a realtor in California, COVID has made things hard, so I am thankful for all the things I've learned from you. Now I'm the plant lady in the family. That is awesome, Monica. I'm so proud of you for being a plant lady.
Why? Sorry, they knew what it was. They're saying why that over like tap water.
Oh, well, I mean,
it filters out all kinds of heavy sediments and different things. And honestly, like, I grew up on well water. I'm not a big fan of like the heavy mineral flavor like anymore. And I don't like city water because all the stuff they pump into it. I love like the way Berkey water tastes.
Yeah, I feel like you can tell a marked difference. I have a video about like our Berkey review. If you're interested in seeing that, like I have a video that kind of gives the long answer. And
they kind of ran out of stock kind of through the whole COVID thing started because everyone was freaking out, but they're back in stock.
Yeah, I think they're starting to get them back in stock. But I have a video with like links and all that stuff.
The other thing is, reason why I like it is also it's actually better for your body to consume room temperature water.
Yes.
Okay. Ice cold water, especially when you're hot, is more risky for a heat stroke than just drinking room temperature. Your body will assimilate and hydrate your body faster with room temperature water. That keeps 2 gallons or 2.5 gallons
clean
and at room temperature. So I can come in, fill my bottle up, and get hydrated fast. Does that make sense? So I really like All Fit for all those reasons.
Allison, thank you so much for that super chat and the encouragement. And living a rogue life, thank you so much. What a sweet little $50 super chat because you left the cherry tomatoes for Ben.
What cherry tomatoes?
I had cherry tomatoes the other day when I did that video and I was leaving them. I wasn't picking them and eating them on the video because Ben really wanted them. I have white mildew on my tomatoes and some parts look almost silver. How can I get rid of it? Claire, I would say neem oil can be good for mildew issues. Also, baking soda with a few drops of dish soap and water can be good for mildew issues. Those are both heavily suggested to me with my powdery mildew on my squash. So those would probably be good. And also, if you have any lower branches, like you can prune them pretty heavily, and they might be having some. If you've got a lot of mildew on your plants, a lot of times it's like airflow. Hey, Aspect Traditions, how are you?
Aspect Traditions, if you got the 2.25 gallon, you could add extra filters.
Yeah, she has a Berkey.
I know. She's saying she wish she would have gotten more. I'm saying you could up the filter speed by adding those extra holes.
And then it filters
you can add in more charcoal filters, and then it filters faster to keep up. We actually are about to redo ours with 4 filters because we go through. We have to fill our Berkey up like 3 times a day. 50% because all of the adults are drinking water and hydrating well. 50% because my kids will literally fill up a full cup of water, set it aside, grab another cup, literally right after, fill it up again. They're just like, it's like.
Well, they fill it all the way to the top.
You ever seen that Mel Gibson movie, Signs? That's our life. It's all the Berkey water. It's not like the tap water that doesn't matter.
Mel Gibson movie. That's M. Night Shyamalan.
Mel Gibson acted in it.
Oh, he acted in it. Okay.
Nobody cares about who wrote it or directed it. It's about the main
except
actor.
for the people who like that sort of thing. So my kids will sit there and they'll turn it on and they'll just sit there like this and watch right over there until it gets right up to the top, and then they turn it off and they go.
And set it down. And then in the middle of this whole renovation thing, the Berkey's been on the floor sometimes, so they'll just pile up all these cups around on the floor. And it's just getting kicked over. Water's going everywhere. I'm
so
like,
if aliens ever invade,
honestly,
we have to hit them with a baseball bat, we're good.
I basically told them like a few days ago, I was like, no more. The Berkey's off limits to you. Go drink out of the faucet in the sink in the bathroom, or go outside and get it out of a hose. So I go outside, I'm walking by the window, look outside, and Malia's got the hose with the sprayer, and the boys are standing like 10 feet away, and she's spraying it into their mouths, like hitting them like this. They're all drinking.
Good thing we have filters on our well water also.
That was actually off the city.
So I'm so glad, Andrew. I hope your dinner is great. Actually just bought my kids some like metal water bottles, and I bought some stickers, and I just let them decorate them. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. Like, this is your water bottle for the day. So you fill this up and you drink it. If you want to set it down, you can stick in the fridge, you can sit on the counter, and you can come back and get it again. But we're not doing this 10 cups of water a day, because what we're doing is filling up the Berkey constantly. And it's wearing the filters down, and literally I water my plants with it after they leave it there all day, and like I'm cleaning up the cups at the end of the day. I just take them and water my plants.
The ones that leave around the Berkey, you know what I do? I just take them and put them back on the top of the Berkey. Double filtered.
Awesome, Donna Jacobs, 6B. Enjoyed my first cute melon yesterday. That is so cool.
Also, you'll notice, see, there's the Berkey. There's the shelves. There's a little
Jeremiah
peg.
customized our shelves.
So that little stick right there, that's because that shelf is going to stop. Boop, right there. So the Berkey. So the only other thing I thought about doing, and I didn't, is so if you see over Jessica's head right there, that thing there, that's a pot filler above the stove. I seriously considered putting one of those above the Berkey. So we could literally just pull it out and turn it and fill the Berkey up and then put it back.
I was like, that's excessive. We're not going to
And
do that.
I decided, hey, I didn't even need you to tell me no. I decided that was a little much on my own. I think someone else will agree that was a good idea.
5B, and I have 5 tomatoes set. That's exciting. Someone asked, what is my favorite tomato to grow? Katie saying, thank you for the super chat. My favorite tomato to grow. I don't know that I have just one. I'm really looking forward to my Dr. Wyche's yellow, which is a big old fat yellow slicer. It makes the best tomato sandwich. They're really mild. Also love Paul Robeson. Those are probably, if I had to come down to 2, it would probably be those 2. I just started homesteading because of you two. Wow, Regina, that is amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and congratulations. I love being able to inspire people into this life.
I had considered putting the Berkey close to where the pot filler is and just being able to use the same one. I like it there, because it's right by that door and it's facing the edge of the counter, so the kids can really come in off that door, get their water,
that's the back door,
and go back out. So they don't. It's the best accessible.
The other thing is that like our kids are little, like 5, 7, and 8 are the little boys, and so Toby's just getting where he can like reach the sink. So if the Berkey were on the back of the counter, that it would be too hard for Ben and Ezra to reach. And so being on the end of this cabinet here, we can turn it sideways and it can be right on the edge of the counter where they can get up to it. So
what's up, Caesar's Succulents? He wanted a shout out, and I'm feeling generous.
Thank you, Ellis Graphics. I appreciate that.
It's too high for the sink faucet.
Well,
I've tried. I basically moved it over there just to see, and the sink faucet can't get up over the top.
The other thing is that if it was right by the sink, it would have to be pulled out to the edge of the counter for the kids to be able to reach it easily. We could have put a stool there, but basically that space there, I didn't want it to be cluttered. How do you cook dragon tongue bush beans? I just cook them like I do any other green beans. One of my favorite ways to cook like fresh green beans out of the garden is like to snap the ends off and then do like a quick boil of them, like boil water and boil them for just like a couple of minutes. I guess that's called blanch. I don't know. And then I drain them and then put them on ice or run cold water over them so they stop cooking, so I don't get mushy. And then I'll take a cast iron pan and put some butter in it and some garlic and put those beans in it and saute them in that and put some Parmesan cheese on it. That definitely makes it significantly less healthy, but they're delicious that way. So, I think we have the big Berkey, the 2.5 gallon one. Melody, can you address supporting Black-owned farms and businesses and the current discussions in the Facebook group? I actually have not been on the Facebook group today. However, my friend Lauren, who's one of our admins, called me early this morning. And there were some, like, we woke up to a lot of messages concerning that. And there were some, and I want to address this first. There were some that were like very accusatory because we hadn't handled it. But that conversation started at our time, 2 a.m. And whenever
it was our sleeping day.
Like, we were sleeping. So,
no,
like,
not just that. It was our sleeping day. Literally, we were like, we're going to sleep in tomorrow. So I purposely turned off all notifications.
So it was absolutely not a slight to anybody that we had not handled that as it was developing. We were asleep. I will tell you that I am really happy that a list was compiled of minority-owned seed companies. I'm absolutely about supporting all people, especially people who need the support. So I am glad that we got that done. One of the things that I discussed with Lauren, because basically what we were trying to decide was, do you just go ahead and delete the thread because of how ugly it was getting? Or do you leave things so that the education can exist? And, we're just trying to make sure that we honor people. And it's hard whenever it's like, okay, how do we handle this? So we definitely 100% are not going to tolerate any sort of racism in any space that we are creating at all. That's just where we're at.
I would just like to add, this is just general, this is good advice. I really think it is. And I've tried to apply it to myself. Really, I do. I don't usually go on YouTube or any of these places trying to do any of this. But guys, social media is not the place to educate people about political and religious stuff that you don't have a relationship with. And you get into these big arguments over social media, and I mean, it's just not the best platform.
I think education can definitely happen in social media,
yes.
but the best place for education to happen is within the confines of relationship.
Right.
And that's where we really feel like that, that truly, like, I believe that correction without relationship just breeds rebellion and anarchy anyway. Like, whenever you try to correct a person that doesn't know your heart, it just doesn't go super far. So we love to have hard conversations within the confines of relationship. But what happens a lot of time, unfortunately, in a platform where people don't know each other from Adam and they're trying to be heard, so much conflict comes and people just get hurt. And
emotions come in.
The thing that hurts me is that I had messages that I could feel the pain in them from my viewers that I value, who were Black. And they were messaging me this morning saying, I need to know if I'm safe here. And I will always create spaces where people are safe, period, because we can create kind spaces. And
being kind is, listen, it's not saying that we have our personal opinions about stuff. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that I agree with everybody that's in Friends of Roots and Refuge. I can guarantee you that there are things that we disagree with people within our group. But that has not once prevented us from letting them be there, from putting value on them and within the group, as people, or even being in relationship. There's lots of people who I choose to be in relationship with, and we just don't agree, and that's okay. You don't have to be agreeing to be in relationship. But Susan, that's such a good point. You can't hear fluctuations and emotions in a typed message. And here's my thing. And if anybody needs to understand, I want to say this for the sake of put it on the record. If you need to understand where we stand on racism, I believe in a beautiful, complex, multifaceted God who is I believe is the creator of the universe and everyone in it. And I believe he is so
multifaceted and so beautiful and so complex that it took the entire diversity of humanity in order to bear his image. That's what I personally think. And so I think that if you want to come against any single person that bears the image of God, then unfortunately you have come against God himself. Like at that point, whenever you say, when you're not okay with a person, and I do think that, we are responsible for the growth of the earth. Like we are responsible for how things turn out. I believe, I believe that I'm responsible for stewarding the earth. I believe that I'm responsible for how I love people. And I believe that it is obvious that I belong to Jesus based on how I love people according to scripture. And so I'm going to love people. And that does not mean that I'm going to love people contingent on my agreement with them, my sameness as them. I want to love people because I see God in them, not because I see me in them. That would be awful. I love him. I don't love me.
Right.
So yeah, that's where we're at. And I'm missing super chats, and I'm so sorry.
We'll come
Thank
back
you
to it
so
in
much
just a second, but like we really want to finish the thought. It's, I told the admins of our Facebook group, I was like, listen, if I had the opportunity to put all 30,000-ish members of Friends of Renovations Refuge in front of me right now, I would say pair up and hug each other until you like each other. Because when my kids fight and like they're screaming at each other, I'll beat you up and I'll do this and blah, 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 and screaming, I basically get them to calm down. And I say, okay, now hug each other until you like each other. I'm telling you, within 5 seconds to 10 seconds, they're laughing because they like each other. See, the thing is I tell my kids, I'm like, you like each other and you love each other. You just forgot. Okay. And so I'm like, hug each other until you like each other. And I'm like, this morning I want to be like, listen, Friends of Renovations Refuge, pair up and hug each other until you like each other because you do. You just forgot for a second. I'm serious. That's what I want to do. I want to be like my big dad voice and be like, that's it. Hug each other until this is over. Because I'm serious. That's really what I was like, this would be so applicable right now. But it's not possible.
Yeah. So like, I don't know. It breaks my heart to see the division that's happening in the earth right now, but it's not surprising to me. It's not all of a sudden a problem. Like there have been a lot of problems. And when things are a problem and they're exposed, all things that are in the darkness are going to come to light. And so I celebrate exposure of anything that is in the darkness. I mean, I celebrate the fact that hard conversations come up and all of that stuff. And, there comes up another conversation where people are like, I refuse to like see this. I actually had some other messages today. Jeremiah had some other messages today. We did about like, hey, if you're going to do the whole black and white conversation, I can't be a part of it. And like, I bless people to make choices for themselves. Like if a person says, I can't be a part of this, I bless them to God. I'm not mad at them. I am so glad that they are powerful people that can make choices for themselves and decide their own boundaries and what they choose to be a part of. But that's not going to change my conversation. It just because they say I'm leaving. Like that thing, like, it's funny because this morning after Lauren called me, we were talking about this. We were laying in bed, and I don't talk about this a whole lot because it's just such if people don't know my heart, they take this and they skew it and they twist it and they make it really wrong. But Jeremiah and I talked for about 30 minutes in bed this morning after this call, because my dad was actually largely raised by a black woman. And it was the kind of situation that happens in the South where she was employed by my grandparents' family for literally from when my grandparents, and her name was Costello White, and she was young whenever my great grandfather hired her, and she worked as like a nanny and a housekeeper for her entire life. And by the time I was born in the 80s, she was just like this bonus grandmother that when I would go visit my grandmother, she would be there. And I spent weeks at a time at my grandmother's house. I was really close to her. And Costello was, by that time, I mean, she was, she was probably like in her 50s whenever I first started coming around. She was the same age as my grandmother, so like in her 50s. And then by the time I was grown and had my own kids, Costello was, of course, retired. But, you know, my whole life, this woman was in our family photos, like our big family photos of my grandparents and all the kids. Like Costello was in that, because by the time I was born, she was just part of the family. Now, I have no idea the circumstances of I have no delusions to, like, I know Costello had a hard life during her youth. I don't, you know, she grew up in the South, in South Arkansas. I have, you know, I'm sure that she faced so much ugliness and discrimination, but the truth of the fact is that my childhood was largely formed, who I am was largely formed by this woman. And as an adult, I haven't always been able to talk about that, like because it was so often misunderstood. Like, I remember writing an article about it once for the magazine that I regularly contributed for, and they were like, hey, given the racial tensions, we can't print this because I think people would misunderstand it. And so I've had to deal with this conflict throughout my adult life of wanting to honor this woman who literally was a reflection of Jesus in my life, she was a grandmother to me. Like, I loved her as you love a grandmother. And I just laid in bed this morning for about half an hour and just told Jeremiah stories about Costello, because I don't get to talk about her a lot, and that breaks my heart. And it was just a crazy thing to me. Like, I'm glad that the racism talk is happening. I'm glad that from a young age, I got to go to the grocery store with a woman who would tell me the stories about when the grocery stores were segregated. I got to sit on the counter and well, I wasn't actually allowed to sit on the counter. She just paid myself. I sat on the counter, but I got to sit in the kitchen with her and talk to her and learn to cook from her. And I got to be formed by that. And I got to know from a young age, even though I grew up in a white world, really, I mean, a white family in a primarily white neighborhood, I got a little window into the fact that the whole world wasn't like that. And so now when people say I can't have that discussion, I'm like, I'm okay with that discussion. I'm absolutely okay with that discussion. And so that's a big part of me that I a lot of times I don't feel like I can talk about, but I love getting to talk about her.
I mean, I never got to meet her, but we did attend her funeral when she passed. And
she passed away right after
all of Jessica's dad's family sat on the family side in the front row. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were the only white people there, but like they all treated it like we came to her house for the food afterwards, and like everyone was like, I mean, it was such an honoring thing of like they treated her actual family treated Jessica's family like phenomenally. No, like there was just a great relationship. Like, and one thing you told me this morning, and you were telling your dad also, is that, you know, when your grandmother was coming to the end of her life, like she basically told you that Costello was her best friend.
Yeah.
Like they raised families together. They lived their entire lives together from girls till they were old. They were like young
women when they came together. And my grandmother told me about 3 weeks before my grandmother died, and Costello lived about 2 years longer than my grandmother did. But about 3 weeks before my grandmother died, I was going, and it was around Thanksgiving, and I was going back, and she was like, now you make sure somebody gets a plate to Costello. Costello was in a home at that point. She actually did not know who I was at that point. She thought I was my mom. Like she had dementia in the last about 4 years of her life. And my grandmother was telling me to make sure to get Costello a plate. And I was like, I will, you know, like, and she was always would remind us, make sure you go see Costello when Costello was still at home. And I was like, I will. And I said something, I don't remember how we got on the conversation. And my grandmother said to me, she said, Costello has been my best friend. She said, we have lived almost our whole lives together. She said, we raised a whole family together. And she said, now at the end of my life, she has been my longest lasting friend. And I remember standing there like in the door. My grandmother was actually in an assisted living place then, not quite as intense. Costello had to be in like a nursing home because she wasn't lucid. My grandma was in more of like an assisted living place, but I remember standing there and just being like, wow, I'm so glad that you came to that. So thank you guys so much for letting me tell you all of that and cry my face off. I'm going to scan up because I don't want to miss these super chats. Thank you so much. Thank you. Living a road life.
I don't think Costello ever had any children.
No, she never had any children. And I don't know if that was a choice, or I don't know if she had health issues or what the deal is. You know, Costello passed away when I was 25. My grandmother passed away when I was 23. And it's kind of one of those really hard things. Like, I look back at my time with them and I think of all the questions that I would have asked them in my 30s that I didn't get a chance to because they died before I got there. Like, I never asked them the things that I would ask them now if I had the knowledge to. Both of them. God, what I would give for a day with each of those women. And my other grandmother as well, my nanny on my mom's side. If I could just sit down with them for a day, I think I could probably write books with all the questions that I would ask them. Like, I just want to know, and you miss the opportunity.
Which goat milk tastes the best? La Mancha, yeah. La Mancha.
Thank you, Clover. Thank you, Nerd Mom. Elisa, thank you. Alyssa, I'm sorry. Allie, thank you for that. Melinda. I just wanted to make sure I honor those. Amber. I've told a little bit about her. Like, I've told a little bit. I did one thing where I touched on talking about Costello, and you get afraid to say the wrong thing, and I don't know. I definitely honor her and the person that I am today. So. I'd give any kitchen timer said I would give anything for just one more day with my grandma. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy that when you're young enough to have your grandparents, you're not wise enough to know what to ask them, to really appreciate them. When like Jeremiah's Nana, he still has one, one Nana and one, his poppy and his nanny. He has one grandmother and grandfather left. And they're actually, Nana's coming to stay and Poppy next month. And I'm so excited about that. Like, when I meet people who are old enough that have living grandparents, and like they actually, they're adults and they have living grandparents, I'm like, to get their stories, ask their questions. All my grandparents are gone now. And I'm like, you have a chance here. Like, definitely get them. Thank you, Sarah.
Oh, wow, that's going fast.
It is. Yes, you are blessed, Bethany, Urban Farm, to still have your grandparents. I did. I talked about Costello when I talked about my cast iron cookware. I remember being about 21 or something like that. And I had bought a cast iron pan when I was about 18, when I've got my first apartment. And I probably put it in the dishwasher or something. I don't know. It's covered in orange rust, and I'd stuck it in the cabinet. Like, this is too hard, and I didn't cook with it. Well, then when I was about 20 or 21, I got this deep, and it was sold as a chicken frying pan, but it was just an aluminum non-stick pan. I didn't know any better, and I got it. I was so excited. And Costello made the best fried chicken in the world. She taught me a lot about actually cooking. And
I'm so glad she taught you how to fry chicken.
And I went to visit her because I would go down every month, and I would go visit my grandmother, and I would go visit Costello after my granddaddy died. And I lived about 2.5 hours away, and I would just go see both of them. And that was towards the end of Costello being in her home, because she did become really senile and she couldn't take care of herself. And I went and I was talking to her, and this is towards the very end of her being at home. I think this was the last time that I ever saw her at her house. And I was like, Costello, I got a chicken frying pan, because she's going to be so proud of me. I just knew it. She's like, is it cast iron? And I was like, no. And she said, then you didn't get a chicken frying pan. I was like, oh, man. So she wasn't as sweet her last years as she was all the years growing up. She got a little sassy there at the end. And now, cast iron's all I use. I don't have my wall. I don't have it all hanging up. That is such a good idea, Darlene. They make these really neat books now where you can it acts like writing prompts to ask people for their grandkids to have one day. Do you have a plan or reason for the big garden for the spaces that have 10 on the paths? No, that is just because in the spring, that it was just all mud.
It's like 4 inches of mud because of how much water pulls up in the clay.
And you couldn't run a wheelbarrow across it, and we were trying to amend the beds and take straw and all that stuff, and you would sink. And so we laid that tin down. Well, then all the grass underneath it died. And so now it's just kind of like a walkway thing. It's not really intentional. We should have pulled it up in the spring as it started to dry up so that the grass could grow, and we didn't. And now it would just be muddy. So the sassy tends to be more predominant in the later years. North Star Prep Stutter, ain't that the truth? Now, my grandmother was mean as a cuss, and she didn't get nice until she was always pretty nice to me, but we were also always a little scared of her until she got to like her last few years. She softened up when she started losing her grip. So bless her.
How many pounds of potatoes do you think we got?
Over 100. It was probably between 100 and 120. Yeah.
And we're going to try and plant some more.
Hey, Katie Black, Market Marvel.
We have not been able to find any more seed potatoes, but we could just turn some of the ones we have into seed potatoes. The day that I harvested them, I took some of the ones that were sprouting a little bit, and I planted those back just to see what would happen. So yeah, I will see. I'm not really sure if those will grow. Oh yeah, like my grandmother softened up considerably. I mean, she was on a live here just like a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, man, when I was growing up, she was like, you need to spank that child. And now, seriously, one of the great grandkids was like getting in trouble. She was like, don't spank the children.
She was always okay. So the stories that I've heard of my great grandmother, which I didn't know her, she passed away when I was really young. My dad, and of course, this is back in like the 60s and the 70s when I guess people did routinely like beat on their kids or whatever. But my dad talks about his grandmother. Her name was Albertine. And he was like, oh yeah, we just lived in fear of me. I can't remember what he called her, Meemaw's slipper or something like that. I said, her slipper? It's like, well, what'd she do with her slipper? And he said, well, first she threw it at you. And I was like, she threw her slipper at you? He was like, yeah, and then you had to take it back. He said, the thing you were scared of is what happened when you handed it back to her. And I was like, oh, Lord, Meemaw's slipper. Thank you, Chrissy, so much for that encouragement. And Sue, thank you. Thank you so much for that super chat and for those kind words. I'm in an interracial marriage and felt so much of your heart. My husband and I have been together since the early 80s. I understand. Thank you so much, Sue. And Elena, thank you. My wife's name is Malia. Is your daughter's name spelled the same? Actually, hers is Maliah. So close, but not quite. Wow, your first garden ever, Lee Jefferson. That is amazing. Congratulations. How many of you just like raise hand emoji or say me? How many of you are growing your first garden ever this year? I would love to know. I love hearing I love hearing.
The chalkboard wall is not coming back.
It is no more.
It is gone.
It's like a passing of an era. It was actually, I was a little emotional when we covered it up, but I knew that I wanted to brighten this space up. Wow, look at all these first-time gardeners. Round of applause. Round of applause, Maya.
Oh, sorry. Round of applause.
Yay.
We can do square applause.
Woohoo, go you. You do it.
That's a lot.
It's amazing. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. Wow.
In the UK is a lot.
That is so cool, guys. That's amazing. Very first red cherry tomato. First in a very, very long time. First garden ever. Wow. That's awesome. We have over 1,900. I think this is probably the biggest live we've ever had. I don't think we've ever had 1,900.
The greenhouse reveal was bigger.
Oh, okay.
But that's different.
Yeah.
Someone just I saw it as it scrolled up. Do you have to cover the potatoes with dirt?
You got to cover them with something. You can grow them with straw. Actually, if you look up the Ruth Stout method, what she does is she's passed right now, but she lays them on the ground or laid them, and then she would just cover them and continually mound them with straw. And then at the end, you just move the straw. And we kind of modified that. Now we did plant ours very mounded up some compost, planted them shallowly in that, and then mounded straw on top, and it was really easy to dig them.
Any tips on pepper plants? Struggling with my peppers are so small. I've had a lot of people say that. Honestly, we've had a lot of struggles with peppers, but the ones we planted in our high tunnel are killing it.
They're doing awesome. The thing that I also did this year is I didn't plant them until the middle of May, mid to late May. So planting them out early, if they're exposed to cool temperatures, I've heard that can stunt them. They really like hot, and they do not like to be overwatered. So yeah, look, the Honeystead, isn't that crazy how many first-time gardeners that are in here? Thank you, Miss Wanda. She said it's amazing how many first-time gardeners. Where do you get the pipe shelf supports? Sweet Maya Custom or prefab? Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
Most of that is a prefab. If you go to Home Depot, you can order contractor packs. So break it down. So like most of the supports, like going to support the actual shelf, so that 12-inch nipple, which is called a nipple, guys, calm down. That isn't deal. So any of the pipes are called nipples because it's actually gas line. But like the 12 inches, the 18 inches for the pantry, they have the other varieties, sizes. I found online at Home Depot, you had to order them, but if you buy a single packaged one in store, it's like $7.50. All right, I bought a 5-pack that made them like $4 each or $3.50 each. So I bought like however many 5-packs I needed, and I had some extras because you couldn't get exactly what you wanted. But it literally, to buy all the shelving parts this time through ordering it and waiting a few days for it to come in, I think we saved like $400.
How much is like, let's say for this shelf right here, because I got asked this earlier. So for one of these shelves, like one thing that comes down on both sides with things, like 2 pieces here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 times 350. What's that?
Why do you make me do math?
There's a calculator.
12 times 350 would be 36 plus. Oh, hold on.
No, don't read down. Just go to calculator.
Sorry. Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. She texted me. My friends text me during the lives while they watch them. Somebody's already done the math. I guarantee there's already a comment saying what 12 times 42. There you go.
Okay. So that's 42. Then $5 for the 90s and $3 for your tea. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 times 12. Let's just say 20 plus the flanges. Like another, how many flanges?
I'm going to answer one question. Amy asked why I don't have peacocks. It's because we live on a really busy road and they're very expensive birds and they're flighty. So I would love to have peacocks someday, but I just want to make sure it's in a time where I can keep them. Yeah, the shelves are wood. They're 2x material, pine, and we've stained them with Jacobian.
It's roughly about $100 to do that setup, to do that 3 shelf per.
Is that just the metal?
Yeah, just the nipples.
So, also we employ 2 teenage boys, our son and our neighbor's son. We've just been paying to help around, and these are called nipples. So that's been fun. So carry on.
Yeah, when you start telling teenage boys to paint the nipples.
That's what they're called. Like, seriously. So, yeah, I mean, we had a budget for it, and we did doing the work for ourselves. We also have saved so that we could pay cash because
we didn't go into debt.
We don't want to go into debt. I mean, that's why I've had a falling apart kitchen. You guys have watched me cook in it for 2.5 years with no cabinet doors falling off and all that stuff. So, but yeah, we saved for it, and we also I got some comments when I showed my stove. People are, that was really expensive. Like, we went to a scratch and dent place, and we were actually able to get that stove and the refrigerator and the dishwasher all for under what the refrigerator retailed for, because it was just like an overstock place. So you can do things cheaper.
I mean, we paid less for that range than you would buy a brand new electric, like cheap electric range at like a box store.
Yeah, it was like less than $600 for that. So I thought that was pretty good. So,
so for $100 for the metal, I mean, you got to compare that to a upper cabinet. It's
right.
Upper cabinet for that space would have been $250 easy.
Right. So I mean, we're looking at.
So it is more cost effective, but it's open, and so that's
some people don't like that.
That's people don't like that. That's fine. But that's what we wanted.
I also like with the upper cabinets being open, you know, we did have the bottom cabinets built, but we got them unfinished and we finished them ourselves. That was another way to save money. Like we did the butcher block. That was a lot cheaper than a lot of options. We did invest in a more expensive floor. We were looking at a cheaper one first, but considering the traffic, we went with one that had a better warranty because we just felt like that would be a much better investment. Hey, the Toasted Rabbit, how are you? I'm so sorry your garden was destroyed, but it's good to see you on here.
What was the color for the cabinets again? Evergreen
by Bear, yeah. Did you buy the stove vent and a scratching vent? No. Actually, that's one of the only things we went and bought new. The sink and the faucet, one of our viewers sent us, which was a huge blessing. And I have been getting like wish list gifts and other things sent like crazy this week from viewers who just want to bless us for our kitchen, and it just touches my heart so much.
Because they want to see something that
I just love to be sweet to us, and yeah, you totally will. But actually, Miss Jen sent us the sink and the faucet, and I mean that was like a big part of the budget, and so some things like that have happened, which has been really cool.
The vent was just at Home Depot. It's every Home Depot carries them.
Yeah, they actually had one at the scratching it place, and it was like a fancy, I don't know, like Electrolux brand or something fancy. It was too wide. But it was too wide, and it was unsure on whether all the parts were there, and so we were just like, I'd rather just buy a cheaper brand and know we have everything for it. Yeah, I'm gonna do like a full video, like just telling you all of these details where we can direct people. We're doing something different for the cookbook shelf because I wanted to put my hutch in here. We're actually going to build a big shelf over on the other end into the living room. We kind of changed that up a little because I felt like this space was going to get a little bit too crowded. Like I hate when spaces feel claustrophobic. That's why I wanted it all light and bright. So, what do you want for your kitchen most? I mean, just the kitchen itself is honestly pretty much a huge deal. I can't think of anything right now off the top of my head. I put some lots of like little doodads and stuff.
That toaster oven.
Our wish list. Yeah, like I put a toaster oven and some different things in there. Like,
well, she keeps talking. She's like, "Well, it's still on the list."
I was like, "Well, I'll
just buy it myself." And I was like,
"No, I won't. I'm too cheap. I'm buying all this other stuff." I was like, "I'll just wait." Okay, here's my confession. If I have something that works and is functional, I very rarely upgrade things. Like if something is working.
She's looking at the toaster oven because we can toast like 8 or 9 pieces of toast at a time, which will keep our kids happy because we have a quad toaster, which is not enough because there's always a fight about the toaster.
So the funny thing with my toaster is my friend Jessica Thrash, who is like one of my favorite people in the world. She came to visit me. She has 2 girls. She brought her girls and she came to stay with us for a week. And she was making toast for all the kids. And I had this old like $10 dollar store toaster oven, and it had like the entire half of a bread bag melted.
It got melted to the side, but because it worked.
It still worked. So this is the toaster we had, and like we had it, and she was making toast for everybody once, and she kept toasting, and she like finally at the end of it, she was, "This is insane." And then like the next round of kids came up and was like, "Can I have seconds?" And so when she went home, I came home and one day and had
we had this toaster show up from Amazon. We didn't know where the heck it came from.
4-slot toaster. And
we're like, this must have been a mistake. She sent me a message.
She was like, "Can you please do me a favor and just shoot the old one?" It was really funny. That is so funny. Someone said Jess's tomato leaf green. They said the cabinets. Mm-hmm. I really, I kind of waffled back and forth on whether I wanted to do green for the kitchen cabinets because that felt kind of like green kitchen cabinets. Am I going to like regret doing that? And actually, there we go. My computer's like, where'd you go? I painted a little bit and then I almost backed out. Oh, I painted right here. And the light was shining on it. It was really bright. But then the next morning I came in and saw it in like the regular light. I was like, oh, it's perfect. How's the non-kitchen part of the renovation going? Tyler, it's right here. So you can see we still don't have anything in there. The walls are textured. Most of the ceiling is on. All the lights are turned out. We have the doors delivered. And so I think the rest of it's going to go really fast because it's not building anything. It's just, oh, hey, cool. There's your apron. Who's from this? We get to open a wish list gift on live. Deborah Debo. I hope you enjoy your new kitchen as much as I enjoy your videos and spirit. You're such an inspiration and have catapulted my garden journey in the heat of Arizona. Thank you so much, Deborah. I'll also send a thank you note for that. There's your apron. Someone asked when the freeze dryer. Sorry, it was because the thing couldn't focus.
It was a 10-week turnaround, so we're looking at like end of July, beginning of August.
And so it'll be here as soon as it can, and I'll be ready for it. We'll be ready to freeze dry. But Jeremiah's going to eat a tomato as soon as there's one like a good one ripe, and it's not. We're not there yet.
Okay. Also, go over the shirts.
Go over the.
We only have like a day left, right?
Yeah, the thing is actually closing up. The
29th at 11:59. So
the Rise and Shine shirts are only available for one more day.
We will not be reprinting them after this.
So this is it, and they're available in tank tops too. So
right. So if you guys wanted a Rise and Shine shirt, now's the time.
Texas Hula Bear, they've got what color are Brad's atomic grape tomatoes when they're ready to pick? Thank you for all your inspiration and channel brings. Well, thank you for the super chat. They're kind of like green and they get sort of purpley streaked if they're in the sunlight, but you can really tell by squeezing them if they are ready. Several of my tomato plants are starting to wilt and die white insides. If I take them out, should I plant more tomatoes there? Darla, that's kind of just like a personal choice on whether you want to risk it or not. It might be better not to the same year, but at the same time, I'm kind of like live on the edge and sometimes try things and just go for it. But you would be taking a risk in doing that.
We're going to go check the P.O. box tomorrow, guys, for all you people who said you sent something to there. Yes, we'll be bringing out other shirt designs. Jessica's got a couple of new designs that we've never released before.
Yep. That
we're looking at releasing after this one ends. And if whoever was looking for the shirts, North Star Prep Center is on it like a outlaw. She's
quick draw.
Yeah, she's like Doc Holliday of the moderators.
If y'all would please follow my moderators.
She's literally just sitting at her keyboard like, just say when. I'm your huckleberry. You know Daisy, John. You know Daisy at all.
Oh my God. Oh, Christine Waller said, how do you store all your food? Various ways: canning, dehydrating,
eating,
freezing. We do eat a lot of things fresh, obviously.
Then
we give a good deal of stuff away. And then we did recently get a freeze dryer that hasn't been delivered yet. And so that'll be another thing.
Yes, we'll still offer a tank top option on maybe one of them. I don't know. We'll have to just see based off. It's all going to be based off color. And then, when it gets cold, we may offer a long sleeve or a hoodie or something.
Kelsey, I've never grown great white before, but I have a great white growing back in the greenhouse. I heard somebody say once that white tomatoes tasted really fruity. They still taste like a tomato to me, but like a mild tomato. Like it's fruity for a tomato. It doesn't actually taste like fruit, but it's fruity for a tomato, if that makes sense. But I've never grown great white, so maybe different. Thank you, Irma.
There are going to be a lot more videos in the kitchen now that it's done.
You'll notice how many lights we've put in here and that the lighting is way better than it has been in the past.
I'm pretty sure that there are big sizes available. So the shirts up to 4X, and I'm pretty sure the tank top was pretty big also.
I don't know if the tank top went up over 2. I thought it did.
I
know the t-shirts. I know the
t-shirts went up to 4 or 5X.
Because they sent us that we bought the extra. We bought the reprints off of the last time, and we ended up with a few. Yeah, what size was it? Who asked that?
Who needed like a 3X or a 4X Rise and Shine shirt?
Yeah, who asked that? Kate, I did just get a letter from you in the mail. And I haven't opened them yet. So I went and picked up a bunch of mail a few days ago.
Okay, so the tank goes up to 2X. Okay. I'll get with our shirt guy. That just may be the only option. We might
have to check on sometimes different versions of shirts. So we'll double check that next time.
I'll check because it may be based on color. We're only going with the Bella Canvas shirts because of it being ethically sourced. So I'm not willing to change that just to get a bigger shirt, unfortunately. But maybe if we pick a different color,
we'll
then
look into
we'll be
it
able to get to a bigger size. So we'll look into it.
We can find in Bella and Canvas, or maybe different styles, because I know the t-shirts went up to a larger size. So we definitely want to make sure everybody's included. So we'll check with that. The Honeystead that designed some headbands. My friend Matthew sent me a picture this morning where he got one of the boho bandos and he put Roots and Refuge on it for me. He's like, look what I made. I was like, you're the sweetest.
Is he sending it to you, or you just made
it? He sent it. He showed me, and he actually had another design that he did on his Cricut, and he was trying to figure it out. And it had a tomato, and it said witchy, like WYCHE, witchy woman. I was like, that's cute.
Man, if we could find someone, if we could find a place that could actually source them.
Actually printed.
I'm sure being limited could figure out how to print them. He would just have to find a source to get the material.
Yeah, Janet, cabinets can add up quick. Well, we did it on a pretty good budget. I feel pretty proud about how we've done that. So,
which one?
All our cabinets. She said her cabinets were $16,000, but she had a lot of like specialties, like pantries and turntables.
Yeah. I get it. And honestly,
I mean,
we got the cabinets custom, but our design was just simple.
Like ours were,
and so like we didn't like some of them didn't have doors, and so like that made it cheaper. They were paint grade, so it was all poplar wood, so it didn't have to have like oak or anything like that because we weren't staining. So there's a lot of reasons why we kind of saved on that, but I mean. Also, we live in a state that has really low cost of living, and so things are just cheaper. Honestly, an epic cabinet install here was maybe pushing $12,000 on like the most you could spend on every detail. And so, like, that's probably
a lot of people ask us like how we afford some things, and like it is Arkansas is a really like a very affordable place to live. Like, I will tell you that our house payment is probably less than your car payment. Seriously, like those of you who have like new vehicles financed, like we're probably paying less.
Listen, do you know why? Because you really need, if you don't have it, you need to pray and get it. You need vision. Okay, some people don't have it, but you can get it because God will give it to you. Like He's about vision.
What did somebody ask?
I'm not asking anything. I'm connecting to what you're saying. So we walked in, we get to this house, and honestly, I have the vision to see what the potential is. And some people can walk into a house that's got janky carpet, nasty windows, mold in the basement, all that gross stuff. And you're like, oh, no, this is not it. I'm like, no, this house has potential. I have the vision for it. And so we got a really good deal. Like our mortgage payment is less than $500 because we were willing to get into a house that needed some TLC.
I wouldn't get out of the car. I was like, heck no. Not good. No.
It was intense.
This is what we signed our kids. No. Whenever they were little, that's why I was like, no. But Jeremiah was like, get out of the car. We're buying this house. And I was like, no. Sometimes you got to listen. Hey, Two Family Homestead. Somebody said, oh, she's getting her toaster oven, but I didn't see what they were referencing. Our ground cherries are only an inch high, but spreading out really wide. Is that normal? Yes, they grow pretty low to the ground. They end up getting a little bit bigger eventually. Interestingly, the ones in the high tunnel are way taller than the ones that are growing out in the garden. They're more ground. So I wonder if that has to do. Somebody bought the toaster oven. That's really cool. Thank you.
Super chat above about the toaster oven. I did not see
a super chat about it.
Toaster oven on its way.
Oh, I missed that. 1 seed away from harvest. Thank you so much.
And a $2 super chat.
Thank you. I completely missed that. Thank you. Thank y'all for pointing that out and making sure that I saw that. I appreciate it. Wow, thank you so much. Gosh, you'll make me feel so like
now we may end up with 10 toaster ovens. Be like, all right.
I never know how. I always feel like responses are inadequate whenever people do really sweet things. But thank you so much. This is such a sweet thing.
Ground cherries are not. Well, yeah, they're a fruit because they're tomatillo family, and they kind of taste more like a citrusy. Cherry,
yeah, they're kind of fruity, but they're like a cherry tomatillo. How do you know when Napa Chardonnay, blueberry, cherry tomatoes are ready to pick? They're going to change color. So, but also like the blue shouldered ones, they just get soft, but the bottom changes color. But you can just squeeze them. Like If you guys are growing tomatoes and you feel concerned that you're not going to be able to tell the difference whenever it's ripe, like squeeze it now when it's unripe. And then when you start to see it change colors, just like continue to squeeze it until it feels like soft. Now, not too soft. You don't want to like completely mushy, but once it's fully changed, it's nice and soft and it's definitely good.
Debbie Denny, I will put you in timeout. I just want you to know.
I'm not even gonna. When do you amend the bed at first and do you fertilize after? I personally just put compost on my beds at the beginning of the season. Now I have used like Neptune's Harvest organic fertilizers before. I've used those especially when I'm seed starting, but then like sometimes I've had extra stuff, so I've put it on the beds. In containers, you really need to look at that. Like usually containers are going to use up their nutrients within like the first 2 months. And so you can definitely fertilize those. The best thing to do when you're fertilizing, depending on what it is, I mean, I like to use organic fertilizers because they're not as intense. Like you can use things like Miracle Grow or whatever the equivalent is, but a lot of times those are really, 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 really rich fertilizers. And I like to feed my plants slow and steady. Because you're not going to get like a super big flush of leaves and not see that turn around into fruit. Because a lot of times if you do a ton of nitrogen, you end up with huge, luscious plants that don't produce a ton. So yeah, with containers, probably about 8 weeks after you plant them, start just a small, normal, put, like whatever the instructions say. If it says put a tablespoon in a gallon of water and water the plants, put a tablespoon in a gallon of water. You do not need to supersize your fertilizer. The same McDonald's, and McDonald's ain't good for anybody anyway. So I think the white tomatoes will probably be the best for Maya to eat. They actually probably don't taste as much like a tomato. However, it's really the texture for him. That's the thing he does not love is the texture.
Can someone post the Rise and Shine shirts again?
Can I put rabbit fertilizer on growing plants? Yes. Life Grows On. Rabbit manure and actually alpaca manure are both cold manures. And so you can put those directly on your garden. Another thing you can do to kind of help disperse it evenly, and this is what I've done for a long time, is take like a 5-gallon bucket and put about this much poop in the bottom of that bucket and then fill it up with water and just let it sit there for a few days. Pretty nasty, but and then water your plants with that. Pour it along the bottom, not on the foliage. I don't know anything about deer manure. I would assume it was like goats.
So no.
But no, goats, chickens, other fowl, horses, cows. You don't put those directly on. It's too hot and it'll burn your plants.
Also, North Star, someone was asking for the wish list link if you can grab that.
Thank you all so much. And thank you, North Star. Can y'all please go follow North Star Prep Stutter, the wild moderator from the West who has the fastest draw. All of our moderators make this possible. There's no way I could sit here on the live video in front of 2,000 of you without people keeping me from seeing the ugly comments and the.
I don't think there's any foul manure that is cold.
No, I don't think so either. Mm-hmm. All bird poop is going to be too hot.
Now, question: the duck water, could that be directly used?
I mean, you could try it.
I don't know.
Depends on how diluted. I mean, that to me, like.
Well, someone's saying about duck manure. Usually, that's in water. They usually.
Yeah,
in water.
I mean, you could probably do some of it and see. I mean, like you can always like really, like, dilute it and see what happens. But comfrey tea for fertilizer, that's a really good one. Oh, thank you. Yeah, there's the link to North Star Prep Stutter's channel, or you can just click on her name. Hey, Murray Hatchery.
I've used duck pond water on my garden.
I've used duck pond water on my garden. There's good. So Murray Hatchery said that one he's personally.
And there's nobody who knows more about this stuff than them.
Definitely a great source for bird knowledge. All right. What does a moderator do?
Throws down the hammer.
They basically have the ability, like if somebody's coming on and they're posting like links to, nasty channels, or they're coming on and they're cussing us out, or they're coming on and telling us to take our clothes off or whatever, like those are the people who are deleting those comments to make sure that this chat stays feasible, that we can engage with it. Right. Because it is really like if you're trying to answer a question and you see a comment that's like really lewd or whatever, it can be really disconcerting.
Now, sometimes I agree with them. Like some guys get on there and they're like, "You're hot." I'm like, She is. But you're not allowed to say that. And then the moderator, get them.
They're the hammer trolls. That's right. And they're the people with the blue names and the wrenches next to their names. Those are our moderators. And I always ask you guys to please, that most of the moderators that we have channels. And if you guys will comment on my moderators, just be like, hey, we are here. Definitely go give them a follow. They're posting homesteading content. And
I think my phone died. It's dead.
And they really help make this possible.
Someone said that the link for the wish list was not the right one. It's on all of our videos in the description too. So
yeah, if you guys go on our videos, or like at the bottom, it says something about our wish list. And we just we just put things. A lot of times, I'll just it's one of those things because it really does kind of help me be kind of frugal. But if I think of something small and it's not like a super major necessity, I'll just put it on there, or something that I would just like to have, but I can't really justify it in our budget. So that's kind of what we do with it. Another thing is, we get asked a lot. We made it because we were getting asked a lot. I was going to try to share it, but I can't figure it out. So do I moderate at all? Not usually.
Usually we're trying to focus on answering the questions and keep the chat move so fast. It
goes so fast, and so it's kind of hard to catch it. Sometimes we will, but usually what that means is that we have to pause answering questions. So whenever there are people who can moderate that for us.
Someone had said about duckling bedding, that would need to sit. That is going to be too hot to put directly into your garden.
Yeah.
But what we were referencing and what Murray McMurray was saying was duck water, which a lot of times ducks, when they get older, poop in the water and clean themselves. They'll poop in it a lot when they get older. And you can he's saying he puts that on his garden directly. So no on the bedding, yes on the water.
All right. Well, it is 8:32, which means we've been in here for over an hour. Well, it's an hour and 11 minutes. So you ready to wrap this up?
Very well.
Yeah. We got to hang cabinets, hang shelves. I got to put where did you get the headbands? It's called The Natural Life. It's just like a website, and they're called boho bandos. So yeah, Natural Life. And I have the ones that I wear. I have a really big head. You might not be able to see this from here, but it's big. My head's as big as Jeremiah's almost. I have a big head. And so I have the full ones, and I just kind of fold them over, because if I let them go down, they'll cover the back of my hair, but that's what I wanted. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. You blessed me so much, and I love getting to share our lives with you. We bless you guys. Until next time.
Bye.